August 9th, 1943. Time magazine hits the newsstands, and on the cover is Major General Terry Allen, hailed as one of America's next great division commanders. The problem? Just 2 days earlier, General Omar Bradley had fired him. This wasn't some minor administrative shuffle. This was a seismic event in the U.S. Army. Allen had just led his legendary 1st Infantry Division, the Big Red One, to a brutal, hard-won victory at Troina in Sicily. This was the capstone to a string of unbroken successes stretching all the way back through North Africa. They had never lost a major battle. Yet, at the very peak of his success, Allen was sent home in disgrace. How could this happen? Why would Bradley fire America's most feared and effective combat commander? The story is a complex tapestry of personality clashes, differing philosophies of command, and the high-stakes politics of war. To understand this story, you have to understand Terry Allen. He wasn't your typical spit-on Polish general. He was a hard-living, hard-fighting Texan with a reputation for being as tough as the men he led. He was a professional soldier, a West Point graduate, but he was also a polo player and a bon vivant who loved a good time. His leadership style was unconventional, to say the least. He believed a good soldier was a confident, aggressive fighter, not a perfectly starched mannequin. He encouraged a certain swagger in his men, a fighting spirit that bordered on arrogance, and it worked. The 1st Infantry Division under Allen and his deputy, Theodore Roosevelt Jr., became the most formidable fighting force the U.S. had. They were known for their initiative, their ferocity, and their ability to get the job done, no matter the cost. They called themselves the Men of Allen, and their loyalty to him was absolute. They would follow him anywhere. This very success, however, created a problem. The 1st Division developed a reputation for being undisciplined. Te Wereshin, as Allen's cowboys, a wild bunch who fought hard and played even harder. Stories of looting, brawling, and a general disregard for military protocol followed them everywhere. While Allen saw this as a necessary byproduct of forging an elite fighting unit, others saw it as a breakdown of military order. And one of the most prominent critics was General Omar Bradley. Bradley was the polar opposite of Allen. He was methodical, reserved, and a stickler for discipline. He believed that an army ran on order and strict adherence to the rules. He was known as the GI's general, not because he was one of the boys, but because he was seen as fair, steady, and professional. To Bradley, the 1st Division's behavior was an embarrassment, a reflection of poor leadership that could not be tolerated. He saw Allen's command as a badly undisciplined outfit that was setting a terrible example for the rest of the army. The clash came to a head in Sicily. The campaign was a brutal slog through mountainous terrain against determined German defenders. Allen's 1st Division was at the tip of the spear, taking on the toughest objectives. At Troina, they faced elite German forces in one of the bloodiest battles of the entire campaign. For 6 days, the Big Red One fought house to house, hill to hill, suffering immense casualties but ultimately breaking the German line and capturing the town. It was a stunning tactical victory, achieved through pure grit and the fighting spirit Allen had instilled in his men. But in the aftermath, reports of indiscipline once again reached Bradley's ears. He saw the division's high casualty rate not as a sign of their tough assignments, but as a result of Allen's supposedly reckless leadership. For Bradley, this was the final straw. He believed that Allen and his deputy, Roosevelt, had fostered a unit that was too independent, too loyal to its commanders, and not enough to the larger army. He felt they were creating a private army, and that was a danger to the entire command structure. So, on August 7th, 1943, just after the victory at Bradley summoned Allen to his headquarters and relieved him of command. He fired Roosevelt too. The official reason given was that they were battle-weary and needed a rest, but everyone knew the truth. It was a power play. Bradley was asserting his authority and making it clear that his vision of a disciplined be-the-book army would prevail. The news hit the 1st Division like a bombshell. The men were devastated and furious. Many felt betrayed. They had given everything for Allen, and now he was being punished for their success. The division's morale plummeted. They felt that the high command didn't understand them or appreciate what they had accomplished. The man who replaced Allen, Major General Clarence Hubner, was a strict disciplinarian who had a tough time winning over the loyalty of men who still considered themselves Allen's men. But the story doesn't end there. This is where Terry Allen gets his revenge. After being sent back to the States, many thought his career was over, but the Army still needed experienced combat commanders. After a brief period, Allen was given a new command, the 104th Infantry Division, nicknamed This was a brand new division, filled with green draftees who had never seen combat. It was a far cry from the veteran Big Red one. But this was Allen's chance for redemption. He took all the lessons he had learned, both good and bad, and applied them to the 104th. He instilled the same aggressive fighting spirit and confidence, but this time he tempered it with a stronger emphasis on discipline. He knew he was under a microscope. He trained his men relentlessly, pioneering tactics for night fighting that would soon make his new division famous. He turned these raw recruits into an elite force. In late 1944, the 104th Division was deployed to Europe, and who was their new Corps commander? None other than Omar Bradley, who was now in command of the entire 12th Army Group. The irony was thick. Allen was once again serving under the man who had fired him. But this time things would be different. The 104th entered the line in the Netherlands and immediately made a name for themselves. Their motto became "Nothing in hell can stop the Timberwolves," and they lived up to it. They specialized in aggressive night attacks, moving so quickly and quietly that they were often deep in enemy territory before the Germans even knew what was happening. They became known as the Night Fighters. They fought their way across Germany, never yielding a foot of ground they had taken. Their performance was so exceptional, so professional, and so disciplined that it couldn't be ignored. The ultimate vindication came during the Battle of the Bulge. While the 104th wasn't in the main sector of the German attack, their solid performance on the northern shoulder of the front was crucial in holding the line and eventually pushing the Germans back. They fought with a tenacity and professionalism that impressed everyone, including the top brass. After the war, Omar Bradley himself had to admit he was wrong. In his memoirs, A Soldier's Story, Bradley wrote that relieving Allen was one of the most difficult decisions he had to make, and acknowledged the superb job Allen had done with the 104th. He conceded that Allen had proven he could lead a disciplined and effective division, effectively admitting his earlier judgment may have been too harsh. Terry Allen had his revenge not through words or complaints, but through action. He proved on the battlefield that his methods worked. He took a division of rookies and forged them into one of the finest divisions in the European theater, silencing his critics and cementing his legacy as one of World War II's most effective, if controversial, combat generals. His story is a powerful reminder that there is more than one way to lead and more than one way to win. Thank you so much for watching. The story of Terry Allen is a fascinating look into the complexities of leadership during wartime. If you found this story as interesting as I did, please hit that like button and subscribe for more deep dives into military history. And don't forget to ring the notification bell so you never miss a new video. We've got many more stories like this to share. See you in the next one.